Tato, czy słyszałeś wilka? Nie martw się nim. Jest ich więcej, tato? Idą za nami? Widzę mnie, tato! Idą tu! Wilki idą tu! Chodź! Chodź! Ruszaj! Weź łopatę! Chodź szybciej, tato! Jedź, Wojtek! Jedź! Szybciej, tato! Szybciej! Jedź, Wojtek! Jedź! I've been here 35 years now. 1953 I come. Nice place, Inverness. Beautiful, quiet. I have the happy life here. Raised the family. Go to British Legion, go to bingo. Good friends, aye. Every year, in November, to Polish War Memorial in Invergordon for the service of remembrance. From the day I started, I never looked back. I have the sewing machine, that's all I needed for a start. Matthew Zajac, late of R.S. MacDonald, opening his own business, you know, ladies and gents. Tailor, your own cloth made up and all that. From the very first week, I have such a pile of order. How the hell I'm going to catch up with it? That's the way I more or less carried on. But really, I started in Glasgow. It was 1948. My brother Kajik was there. I was demobbed, but we still have the army pay till we get the job, you see? Tailor wanted. So I went to there. And as it aspired, the manager was a Major Forbes, and he was liaison officer with the Polish troops in the Middle East. North Africa, you know? To tell you the truth, I forgot all about how to do it. I just sat beside a good old tailor. Mr. Penman he was, come from Ballachulish. I picked up from him massive things. It was £5 a week, but Forbes say you be getting 6, but don't tell anybody. Maybe because of being a soldier or something, you know. Anyway, I was quite grateful for it, till about a year after it was found out. And what a ballahu it was about it! So everybody got a rise after that. I was living with Kajik's father-in-law on Berkeley Street, off Argyle Street, near to Kelvin Grove Park, Kelvin Hall, you know. Then I decided to go on my own. Oh, I stayed in so many places. Always moving, always moving. I stayed in Argyle Street, Watt Street, Ibrox, Townhead for a while, Royston Road, then to Alexandra Parade, then to Mary Hill. There I met Mary from Mary Hill. After that we got married, so then we stayed on Bolland Street. Angela was baby. Then Dumbarton Road, a small house, a room and a kitchen, and the rent was very, very cheap, was £1 a month. So, after a couple of years, I seen the advert for the tailor and cutter to take charge of the work in Inverness. So I went for the interview and got the job. And that time I had about £8. Was quite good wages that time, you know, and the Forbes said, oh, we give you a rise, we give you £12. They offered me 16 in Inverness. Oh, that's too much, you know, we can't compete with that, £16 and this and another. They went to 14, you see? Buggers! I worked for 2 years for £8 and I was quite all right to jump to 14, so I went and took charge of the work there in Inverness. And what a mess that shop was, you wouldn't believe it. So I straightened that out quite well. And then somehow there was a lull in the trade and the bosses began to cringe. Oh, there's a big wages, big this, big another. And Mary was still in Glasgow now with Catherine as well. And in between the time, I met a tailor that I used to work with, and he worked in Siani in the coats section, making coats in the factory, you see. I met him in the Bay Horse, that's in Renfield Street. I say, I'm in Inverness, but thinking of coming back. Come to Siani, I'm sure you'll get a job, I'll see the manager for you. So I went to there and I say, here, I never worked in the factory before, I don't know the way of factory working. He said, it's easy picked up. It's just like riding the bicycle. Would you take charge of the costume section? And you can do what you like with it, but production must be 200 costumes a day. 200 costumes? First week you come in here, you do nothing, just to walk about the factory picking up the machinists. You would need about 60 of us staff. So I gathered them, and my pay that time was, by Jove, £25. Was a lot of money that time, you know. It was a circular affair, you know. Various people were placed to distribute the sleeves, the backs, the fronts, the linings, and all went to the different machines. Every machinist done so much, and they put it down a chute and went to another machine, to done the other thing, and on, and so far, and went to the row of pressers. Opening seams, you know, stretching where is necessary, pressing the canvas, and goes back to the machines again. The sleeves together, the fronts together, the collars there, back to the pressers and go back to the finishers. Buttons and maybe a linings need to be filled, this and another. And back to the pressers again and on the hanger. Oh, what a calabazoo it was first week. Szybko do lasu, chodź! Tutaj! Uważaj! Masz może trochę chleba? But before the week was finished, I reached the 200. I was amazed how on earth we could produce a costume in 8 minutes. So after near a year, I was promoted to the dispatch. You see, that was tremendous promotion. I have 8 models to try on the costumes and a secretary. And you know, I was on that section 2 weeks and the blasted thing went on fire. 2 weeks? Was such a job, you know, pay was double practically, yes? Yes. Went on fire on Sunday in the dispatch department. Some basket left the fire on. And the dress silk coat went up like a bloomin' torch. So, Monday going to work, there's no work. And they offered me job in factory in Birmingham, but Mary didn't want to go. I think I'll go back to Inverness. And you know, I told you, that's what I did. I become a businessman. Small businessman. Not complete yet. Not complete. It's for Matthew, my son. Just not czule żegna się z dziewczyna. Jest cieciule z Ukraina. Hej, 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 sokoły, omijajcie góry, lasy, doły. Dzwon, 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 dzwoneczku, mój stepowy dzwon, dzwon, dzwon. Żal, żal za dziewczyna, za zielona Ukraina. Żal, żal, serce płacze, już cię nigdy nie zobaczę. Hej, 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 sokoły, omijajcie góry, lasy, doły. Dzwon, 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 dzwoneczku, mój stepowy dzwoneczku. Hej, 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 sokoły, omijajcie góry, lasy, doły. Dzwon, 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 dzwoneczku, mój stepowy dzwon, dzwon. Wina, wina, wina dajcie, a jak kury pochowajcie na zielonej Ukrainie przy kochanej dziewczynie. Hej, 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 sokoły, omijajcie góry, lasy, doły. Dzwon, 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 dzwoneczku, mój stepowy skowroneczku. Hej, 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 sokoły, omijajcie góry, lasy, doły. Dzwon, 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 dzwoneczku, mój stepowy dzwon, dzwon, dzwon. Kazik, Adam, zawracajcie! To zaraz wybuchnie! Zobaczcie, jakie ogromne! Mogłoby zabić człowieka! Wusiak mi dzwoni? Niezle to było, co? Chodźcie, poszukajmy ich więcej! On the field, during the First World War, there was a front on our area, you see? And each time you dug anywhere, you always found a bullet, or a grenade, or an artillery cartridge. And they were still perfectly sound, so what me and my brothers one time start to dismantle them. And we had quite a heap of gunpowder, and start hammering with a hammer to make a spark. And the damn thing made a spark all right, and it went with a bang. Aye. Adam was wounded in the hand that time. Still have a scar there, aye. Oh, I got such a belting, you no idea, you know. Father was chasing and pulling, and I got a battering like anything, you know. A lot of boys in that area were blinded. Lost the arms, lost the fingers because of that. Aye, aye. Terrible. Somehow I was lucky. I know a chap, he became a musician, he played a violin. Lost his eyes because of that, aye. Martin something, I just don't remember his surname, you know. Blinded. But he still played the violin. Played in the band, traveling band. I remember him playing at a wedding in our village. The dancing was in a big bar and in the yard in front of it. A short wedding, just 2 days. And he kept on playing all the dances. Oberek, Mazur, Polka, Snake Polka, Kozak. And a beautiful bride and a handsome groom. And a proud mother and father. And the groom, maybe a bit uncertain. And all the eating and drinking. Na zdrowie, nie lubisz kielbasa? Dawaj tu! And some of the men, dressed as women. You know, for the comedy! And all the competitions, drinking competitions, children's races, and the bride threw the veil to the girls. And then she dons the scarf. She is a wife now. Laska. Anna Laska Laska. Zawsze chodziliśmy razem. Śpiewaliśmy piosenki. Heaps of girls in the village, of course. Naturally, naturally. Oh, I have a number of girlfriends. But there was Melania. There was Michalina. But there was, oh, what was her name? Maria. They just lived a couple of houses from us. Oh, Salchuk. Maria Salchuk. They were Ukrainian, Greek Orthodox, you know, because it was all mixed. Greek Orthodox, Roman Catholic, and the odd Lutheran and things like that. It was all mixed, you know. There was a family of Jews who went to school too. Was 2 boys. Lipko and Winka. That's Menachem and Lippe in the Hebrew. Don't know how the hell it went. It spread so quick into our... They start to discriminate against that religion, against that. Oh, he's a Jew and he's a Pole and he's a Ukrainian. We never heard that before. We were just from Nilovod. Till the Hitler came into power in Germany. The propaganda that it spread like a wildfire. You see? You see? But with us, there was not even think of that, any discrimination, you know? Like for us, was all services in one church. The Greek Orthodox priest was having the service, the Roman Catholic was having the service in the same church, alternative Sunday. And we celebrated 2 Christmases, the Orthodox and the Catholic, perfectly in order. On December 24th, the Polish Wigilia, we shared the opłatek, the angel bread, and have the meal, and at midnight all the farm animals can speak. Hello, Mr. Cow. Hello, Mrs. Donkey. What's this baby doing in our barn? And on January 7th, the Orthodox, we have our grandfather's spirit, the Diduk, a sheaf of wheat with 4 legs on the table. And we children go to the different houses to sing carols and receive gifts. And some of the adults dress as monsters with pelts and horns, and they stage a fight with us. We always win because good has to triumph over evil. And then we throw the scarecrows on the bonfire, getting rid of the evil spirits. And then we be safe for the year. But in 1939, didn't work. I've been in the army about 9 months. A rumor of the war been going on for a while, and then latterly it did happen. The war broke out, and there was a flood of reservists to our regiment. 51st Infantry Regiment based in Brzeżany. I was surprised, and I wasn't. You see, war was anticipated for a number of years. But everyone thought that as we had strong alliance with France and Britain, they were not going to violate that. And especially, nobody expected that Russia would come from the other side. We didn't expect to be hit as quick and as hard as that. We were in the southeast of Poland. You know the territory called Galicia. We were quite near Russia to the east and Romania and Hungary to the south. Many a time when I snatched a weekend pass, went home, was not far. Last time I was home for the weekend, about a month, 3 weeks before the war broke out. We just did the usual thing, you know. And Father asked, how is it in the army? They hear anything? I say, we don't hear anything in the army. They don't tell you anything there. And that was the end of it. That was the last time I saw them. Never saw them again. She treated me like I was him, stroking my leg with her strong, gentle hands, working hands, worn hands, translucent skin. Anna Alaska. Stroking my face, asking me if I would take her with me, whispering sweet nothings across the room, winking at me, holding my hand in hers. And the cry that came from her when I said goodbye, a wail of loss from the pit of her stomach, from the core of her being, from decades ago. It sent her crashing to the floor. When I left, she lost consciousness for 2 days. We headed north, somewhat northwest, yeah, for a week. After that, it was obvious that German advance is very fast and there is no established front line as such, so we were ordered back and head south to Romania and Hungary to get across there. And the commanders themselves were in disarray because the high command was away from Warsaw already, you see, on their way to London. Who was left to order anything? We were dispersed again into the smaller units because it was no use to travel by the convoy. There was no way to get across the frontier that way. Anyway, a lot of our soldiers made it. And then we know that Russians are across the eastern frontier. Oh, they were supposed to be the great liberators or something. Who asked them there to do, nobody knows. After they caught us, they said, we are, you know, the liberators and all that from the tyranny of capitalism and that crap, you know? It's like when you chase the fox in the winter. You see the fox, and you round with the horse and the sleigh. Circle it, fox, all around, and join the circle. If fox not to run away before he closed the circle, you have him. Because he would not cross the circle, he cannot. And you go smaller and smaller circle, and smaller circle, and then you got the fox. Aye. Need to be mighty fast, because the fox, they are clever trying to get out of the circle before you join it. He's out of the circle, it's finished. He's got away. Caught a few that way. And that's how we got caught. We were cut off and gathered to the certain points and in the cattle truck and away to Russia, which we went to Kiev, and then we headed northeast and then east, most of the time east. And from time to time, when trains stopped, so many was taken off, and somehow I arrive about 3 weeks after on the other side of the world, practically. We end up in beyond Europe, practically. Well, what was the name of the area? I forgot. Uzbekistan. Of all places, the damn thing, you know? Everyone was starved to half dead, practically. We were dispersed to various collectives, collective farm, you know? And the Russian been so beautifying everything that you are going to the collective farm to help build socialism, and you are not a prisoners as such, sort of a free workers from Europe, from the, what they call it, free workers from the oppressed Western capitalism. So I was looking after the pigs, tilling and plowing the field, things like that. Slept in a sort of a barn. Plenty straw for a bed and plenty straw to cover yourself. It was sort of a rough blanket, you know? And in the winter, very, very cold. Snows were 2-3 meters deep sometimes. I was not that long there, what, 49 years? A year and a half, aye. But then, when it was, at the beginning of 42, we told about the amnesty. The Germans invaded Russia and Stalin declared the amnesty for all Polish prisoners of war so that we could go and fight again. Oh, they never tell us officially. Nothing said. A doctor that used to come on her round and said, you know that there are certain points that Poles gathered, forming the Polish army again. I say, where? Somewhere in the region. So, after that, we gathered together and say, here, we must leave and find our people because nobody telling us anything. So, and then we two by two, we just kind of escape. Passenger train or cattle truck, whatever it was, you just hung on to it and went on. I travelled myself about for a couple of months. Where the devil you got that? Well, you got the bread. I give you half a loaf for it. A whole loaf. A 3/4. Done. That's the way you survive. Just couldn't survive any other way. Just steal and barter and, you know, and jump from train to train. And which way you travel? We traveled that way. I've been that way. Oh, did you see any of our people? No. Oh, they're bound to be there. They must be there. What you doing here? Well, that's what we look for, people like you. On every station we have the Polish officer gathering the men. On every station, I've been on 100 of stations! Because Proskurov. I think it was Proskurov station. The names I never looked at, you just travelled, you see. I was in Proskurov for, I don't know, maybe a month. And then we were embarked onto the boats, onto the Caspian Sea to Persia, and on to Tehran. So in Tehran I didn't bide there very long, maybe a couple of months till we got organized and revived from the hunger and all that. And there was no way to get in touch with the family or anything, you know. The officers sort of trying to establish contact through the Red Cross, but there was none, not at that time. German kept clamp on, and the Russian on the other side, and that was that. No way to contact anybody, you see. Iraq and through Syria. Oh, those drivers, they've been driving so fast and the roads so narrow and the drops hundreds of feet down. Oh dear, makes you dizzy looking at it, you know. And the stones falling from under the wheels and cascading down. And we end up in Cairo. Near Cairo, yes. It was a huge camp there. Tents, various regiments. It was a Polish camp there, and a British camp there too. Couldn't fight on our own because the British rule. We were there 6 months or more training, fattened up nicely. But was not our fight. You know what I mean? Was nothing to do with Poland. But we still went there and done our job in the North Africa to get the Nazis out. That was the main fight, to get them out, to get them beaten. It was some fierce fighting in Sicily and on the mainland Italy. I never had the misfortune to be in the hand-to-hand combat. Because it is a misfortune, you know? Nie jestem Polakiem! Wzięli mnie na siłę do Wehrmachtu, grozili, że mnie zabiją i wysła moja matkę do obozu pracy. And when we took the prisoners, we come across quite a few Poles that were in German Wehrmacht. You know, from Upper Silesia and that. We just weed them out and into the Polish units. They weren't considered to be traitors, unless they were SS, but Wehrmacht, no. Because they were just drafted into Wehrmacht, in Upper Silesia and Pomerania. Nazis regarded them as German, as Volksdeutsch, you see? Yuri, what time is sunrise? The autumn colors are prettiest at home. Silver birch, tall and thin with yellow leaves. Paper tin gold zlotniki fluttering down, repaying the earth for its nourishment, for spring and summer. We're missing out on summer, aren't we, Yuri? We've jumped to autumn. No. Plunged straight to winter. Will they ever feed us? There'll be mushrooms in that wood beyond the wire. There's a wood by Nilovod. Anna and I picked mushrooms there. Chatterelles, puffballs. Up at dawn, tap on her window. Across the field to the wood. Footprints in the dew. Chasing each other. Catching each other among the trees. Kissing her cool lips. Oh, those lips. The sweetest. Sinking together to the ground. Giggling, fumbling, stroking, pushing, biting, gripping. You know how good it can be, Yuri. We were wet from the dew, but we didn't care. I picked twigs and leaves from her hair. I was hers, she was mine. My boy, my girl. Remember the food of love, Yuri? We're nourished with that, the best food. And they've forgotten what it tastes like if they ever knew. We'll never starve. Then I was on the wing of the Adriatic. It was there at some point that it was over. Felt quite happy, more or less. Plenty vino and cognac and all that. Oh, it wasn't that plentiful, but it was. Italians been hiding it somewhere. I nearly got married in Rome, you know. One time on the way to Rome, I saw the old man standing outside his car and looking at it, so I knew it was something wrong there, so I stopped and said, "Che cosa?" He said that its car no working. I say, maybe it's no petrol. So I put a little petrol. Still car won't start. I'm no much of a mechanic, but saw sort of a loose wire sticking out. I say, where the devil it go? Maybe it go there. So I stick it there. Started! And oh, he thanked me and invited me to come to see when I'm in Rome. So next time I'm in Rome, I went there. And it apparently aspires he was a very wealthy man. He owned half a dozen hotels there. So that Vittorio Bolognese. He come from Bologna, so he called Vittorio Bolognese. Trying to palm the daughter on me. She was quite nice. But somehow I didn't care that much. Eola was her name. Somehow, I didn't want to stop in Italy. I don't know, I didn't like the country or something. I don't know what I didn't like that time. I was very confused. Oh, very confused. I wanted to go home, back to Poland, but I didn't know if I could. You didn't know what to do for the best. Where are you going to stay or anything like that, you know? So latterly I contacted America. Anna Buhai, a cousin. And she writes that my brother Kajik, he's in Glasgow. I didn't know Kajik, he's alive or not. As soon as I arrived here, contacted Kajik. He come to see me. Met Kajik for the first time since 39. I stayed in Bury near Manchester that time. That's how I moved north to Glasgow. Many a time we talk about it. Look at that. We went through the war and all that. All the hope to go to Poland, back to there, back another barrel. We didn't get back to Poland. We could have went. Of course, a lot of them did go back. But I just didn't want to go. Because our home was now, well, the Russia. The border's been moved west. And Nilovoda was not in Poland anymore, was in Ukraine. And we hear nothing from Nilovoda. We not know if mother, father, brother, sister still alive, because so many had died there. Nearly all the Jews gone, wiped out. And the Ukrainian militia's been killing the Poles, and the Polish partisans been killing the Ukrainians. And that went on for a few years after the war. Oh yes. And more. Russians would probably send us to Siberia, to Gulag. And that would probably mean death. So there was no point going back. I don't know when we get contact with Adam, my younger brother. I think after I was demobbed again through America. Adam explained everything in the letter, you see. Father died in 47 and mother and sister still there. Mother didn't want to go to Poland because she waited that we might be coming home. You know, to carry on the old people. She should know that we not be coming home. We couldn't. But there you are, you see. So, that's it. That's it.
Sukienka, którą mi dałeś, była jak motyl dmuchany wiatrem. Przypięłam ją do serca. Sukienka, którą mi dałeś, przygnieciona przez gruzy i splamiona dłońmi cenzorem, pomarszczona jak moje odbicie. Sukienka, którą mi dałeś, to moja gorzka siostra. Miotam się i krwawię, kiedy jej nie ma i czekam jej narodzin. Twój ścieg jest mocny, zwarty i nieprzenikniony. Twój strach kryje się w cieniu jej fały. Ubieram ją i patrzę, jak znikasz w oddali.
You still here? There's no more to tell. You heard the story, that's it. Aye. Idzie żołnierz, borem lasem, przemieniając, z głodu czasem. Nie blakuje wieczorami, przelatuje. Ciustka czarna, jest za pasem, ale i w tej pusto czasem. That was one of our songs. Idzie żołnierz, it called. So, there you are. That's it. Time to go. Good night, ladies. See you in the morning. Night, ladies. Good night. The night has come and it's time to go. Go! Run! Quickly! Quickly! Raus! Raus! Alle Häftlinge zum Saalappell! Alle Häftlinge zum Saalappell! Heute fahrt ihr ins Deutsche Reich. Jetzt könnt ihr zur Arbeit des Führers beitragen. Den Aufbau des neuen nationalsozialistischen Europa vorantreiben. Marsch! Marsch! Du da! Was willst du dort machen? Arbeiten fürs Deutsche Reich, Herr Kommandant. Sehr gut. 20 Mal wiederholen. Arbeiten fürs Deutsche Reich, Herr Kommandant. 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 Arbeiten fürs... Du harmloser Scheißkerl! 20 Mal habe ich gesagt. 20 Mal! Nicht 19 Mal, nicht 21, sondern 20! Aufstehen! Los! Und weiter marschieren! Aufstehen! Los! That happened too, of course. To some people. Как вас зовут? Матеуш Зając. Зając вы сейчас солдат в армии советского народа. Возьмите за собой комплект чистого нижнего белья, бритву, горшок, нож и вилку. Народная армия обеспечит все остальные ваши потребности. Вы сейчас защитник рода. We learned the Russian in school, you know. In Inverness, I was occasionally asked to be an interpreter by the authority. So, when the war broke out, I was in the Polish army in the east. Oh, I told you that. In the Polish army.
Dear Mr. Zajac, thank you for your recent letter and enclosures, and in reply, please find a statement of service for your late father, as requested. In Poland, he was called up from the Polish Army Reserve on 20th of August 1939, and with the 51st Infantry Regiment, he fought against the Nazi invasion. There are now two conflicting statements as to his actions between 1940 and 1945. These statements were made by your father, first on enlistment in the British Army in Italy, and then in the Polish Resettlement Corps in the UK. There is no way we are able to confirm either of them. According to the first statement, he was conscripted and served in the Soviet Red Army from May 1940 to December 1943, and then he was in the German Army from July 1944 to 7th of May 1945, the day Germany surrendered. According to the second statement, he was deported as forced labour to work in a sawmill in Germany from 1939 to 1943. He was then in the former USSR as a soldier from 1943 to 1944, and in Germany as a prisoner of war from 1944 to 1945. I can confirm the following particulars of the British military service of 300-86980, Private Mateusz Zajac. Service in Italy with the Polish forces under British command from 3rd of June 1945 to 17th of March 1947. Finally discharged 4th of October 1948. Conduct good.
Conscripted and served in the Soviet Red Army. Deported as forced labor to work in a sawmill in Germany. In the former USSR as a soldier. In Germany as a prisoner of war. In the German Army. From July 1944 to 7th of May 1945. The day Germany surrendered. Born June the 8th, 1919 in Milowode, Podhajce, Tarnopol, Poland. Parents Andrzej and Zofia, née Baldas. Nationality Polish, religion Roman Catholic. Marital status while serving, married. Bystra woda na jeziorze, bystra woda na jeziorze, tam jasinio w polu łozie, tam jasinio w polu ozie, ogląda się, ozie, ogląda się, gdzie dziewczyna pyszki pasie, gdzie dziewczyna pyszki pasła, pogudziła, pasła, pogudziła, posędzia się zabaziła, posędzia się zabazi. Byś mi, Jasiu, pyszki znalazł, byś mi, Jasiu, pyszki znalazł, dałabym ci zionek zaraz, dałabym ci zionek zaraz. August 1939, September 2003. 64 years since Mateusz left his home forever. And here I am, his representative, returning for him and for me. I had visited my old Polish aunt Aniela, Uncle Adam's wife, in Augustów, Poland in 2002. I told her I wanted to see my father's birthplace. She gave me a photograph of him when he was very young, with 6 other soldiers. I looked at it. The soldiers wore no insignia, but I could just discern the red star on their caps. That's strange, I thought. Maybe they were issued with these uniforms as a stopgap before they were transported to Tehran. She also told me that a cousin of my father's, Bogdan Baldus, was still alive and living in Podhaice, the town near my father's village. I'm getting closer. I arrive at Ternopil railway station, Western Ukraine. I climb down onto the platform. A small man, bald with white hair above his ears, dapper and intent, catches my attention. He has a penetrating stare, blue eyes set deep under dark brows. His face shows little expression. It's Bogdan. And then I'm surrounded by people. To my right stands a tall old man in a baseball cap and tweed jacket, full of good humour and more gold teeth than I've ever seen in one mouth. He clutches my hand with a firm grip. This is Mikola, Bogdan's 82-year-old brother. Next to him, Zhenya, his rotund, rosy-cheeked wife, who kisses me and holds both my hands in hers, felicitous and warm, exclaiming how much I look like my father. The 3 old folk are accompanied by 3 grandchildren, smiling and watching. You have come, says Mikola. You have come. Wouldn't be any point to go back there, huh? No. I would go back if it was safe and see what happened. But to stay there, no. Adam say you wouldn't recognize it at all. Nothing would resemble what you would know. Podhaice, now a town of around 4,000. When my father was born, it was bigger, perhaps 6,000. The majority of the population was Jewish. It was essentially a Jewish town. Jews, Poles, Ukrainians, and a few ethnic Germans. Soviet communism and German fascism left only Ukrainians. Before the war, in the early evening, the young people provided the town with an unstaged show on the Corso, as the pavement surrounding the marketplace was called. It was full of groups of boys and girls in an informal parade of courtship, a non-stop fashion show with young couples walking hand in hand. Because of this show, some people called Podhaice the Paris of Galicia. Before the war, 90% of Galicia's tailors were Jewish, my father's teachers. The Jews of Podhaice were forced into a ghetto there in 1941. All but a few dozen were murdered in 1943. This was the murder of a great and ancient professional experience, passed from one generation to another. After the war, some of the stones used to repair the Corso were the tombstones of Jews, taken from the Jewish Municipal Cemetery. A large 1970s apartment block on the edge of Ternopil. An old Soviet housing scheme not unlike one on the edge of Glasgow or Edinburgh. Zhenya busies herself, putting the final touches to lunch. Mikola presents me with an A4 sheet, which read, "Your grandfather Angie was born in Nilovoda village in the region of Podhaice, county of Ternopil. His wife was Zofia, a Ukrainian woman. Angie and Zofia had 4 children, Emilia, Kajik, your father Mateusz, and Adam. Your father trained to be a tailor in Mozalivka and Podhaice. In 1940, he was called up to the Russian army, and in 1941, when the war started with the Germans and the Russians, your father was under the command of General Vlasov, who gave himself and his army up to the Germans near Leningrad. After some time, members of Vlasov's army, including your father, started fighting in the German army. Between March and July 1944, the front halted on the Strypa River near Nilovoda. Your father fought there and managed to visit his parents a couple of times late at night. It was a very dangerous time. Your father told me this in 1982 when he was a guest of his brother Adam in Poland. The terrain is rolling arable land with few trees and little birdsong. I pass a group of workers bent to pull beets from their field. A primitive concrete cross, trapped and crooked. I enter a shallow valley. A little line of trees becomes visible in the distance. This is Nilovoda. Rotten water, named after the stagnant ponds which form there after heavy rain. The terrain opens out as I reach the village. The track curves to the left over a boggy patch and round to the right to become the main street. It could be any town. A spunky little girl on a scooter wearing white with a white ribbon in her blonde ponytail and dark wire-frame glasses asks me who I am. Her mucky sister toddles about in a t-shirt, nothing else, still amazed at the wonder of walking. I visit the cemetery and see my grandmother's grave and Emilia's grave. My grandfather's grave can't be found. No one knows where it is or even if it's there. My grandmother was Ukrainian. My grandfather a Pole. Then, in a mixed marriage like theirs, the sons were brought up as Poles, the daughters as Ukrainians. So my Aunt Emilia was a Ukrainian. So was her husband Pavlo, and so was her son, my cousin, Teodosi. On March the 3rd, 1944, the Ukrainians killed 7 Poles. On the 5th, the Poles killed 16 Ukrainians, including an 8-year-old schoolboy. he was an accident. People knew who was a Nazi sympathizer, who a Ukrainian nationalist. A week later, the Ukrainians responded by wiping out an entire Polish colony, burning the houses, killing those who couldn't flee, raping the women, young and old. The Poles did the same the following week. The Ukrainians tortured and killed, the Poles tortured and killed. On both sides, teenagers were the worst perpetrators of atrocities. Teodosy supported the Ukrainian partisan army. When the Russians reoccupied in summer 1944, he was accused of betraying Poles and fighting the Russians. He hid in a bunker. A Russian soldier threw a grenade in after him. He was 17. I meet a wizened 77-year-old peasant woman, Olga Kędzierska. She went to school with Uncle Adam. She remembers Mateusz well. The Zions family were the richest in the village. 40 hectares, many cows and horses. Adam was a devil, Kazik was respected, a civil servant, then an officer. And Mateusz, my father.
В селі був скандал, як він вже почав ходити до неї, знали, що вона вагітна, і не хотів ще з ним женити. Ну і вже потрошки, і родичам було встидно, і взяли. Він ще женив, він пішов і ще женив.
And then, of course, there was a scandal in the village when your father got a girl pregnant. And he said the baby wasn't his, but it was really his. And then his parents and elders said that he must marry her.
Right. And what was her name?
And як вона називалася?
Ганя.
Her name was Anna. Ганя.
Ганя, ще родила та дитина,
Well,
назвали Ір.
And як вона писалася?
Ляска.
Yeah. Well, and her last name was Ляска. Anna Ляска.
Anna Laska.
Yeah.
Так.
And what was the baby's name?
А як називалася дитина? Дівчинка та як називалася?
Між Ірка, ні?
Ірена. Yeah.
Irina.
Irina, yes.
Так.
Don't worry, I'm all right.
I learned 4 things in Ukraine. My grandmother was Ukrainian. My father was indeed in the Soviet army, and it seems also in the German army. And that I have a half-sister, Irina.
The dress you gave me was a butterfly blown by the wind. I pinned it to my heart. The dress you gave me squeezed through the rubble and the air between the censor's hands. Its creases match mine. The dress you gave me is my bitter sister. I pinch and tear at her absence, though she was never born. Your stitching is strong, closed up, impenetrable. Your fear falls in the shadows of the skirt. I wear it and watch as you run into the distance.
If Fox not run away before you close the circle, you have him. Because he would not cross the circle, he cannot. And you go smaller and smaller circle, and smaller circle, and then bang! You got the fox. Aye. I visited the church in Nilovody. Stone built, the walls were painted pale yellow. The tall, narrow windows were stained with squares and triangles of red, blue, yellow, and green. Soft afternoon light filtered through and became sea green, dreamlike and submarine. Icons, tapestries, sunray crosses and candles. Between 1945 and 1989, it was the headquarters of the Kolkhoz, the collective farm. Before then, It was the church of my family. I pictured them standing next to me. Not exactly a picture, more an imagined presence, which was almost tangible. The pale green dreamlight and the impression of silent figures standing respectfully between the pews, facing forward. The strong features of Amelia, who I never met, and her husband Pavlo. Theodosi, my partisan cousin. The frail grandfather Angie, still tall with his dark head of hair. My grandmother Sophia, strong and kind with her handsome, generous, stoical face. The three brothers, Kajik, Adam and Mateusz, the ones who would be scattered. My ghosts in their home, here in this church, the only building still standing where they would have gathered. Once now, in the fields near Kotusów, it was a village. I seen such a big cabbage, they had to use oxen to pull it from the field. They made enough sauerkraut to fill 5,000 jars. And from the center of it, the joiners made a new wheel for the mill. Droga Paniana, I am the son of Mateusz Zając from Milovoda. A few weeks ago, I visited my father's birthplace for the first time and discovered that he'd been married to you before the war and that you had a daughter, Irena. This was a shock for me. My parents never told me or either of my two sisters about this. Mateusz died in 1992. He was a wonderful father to me, but I've been full of questions since this revelation, none of which he can answer. I would very much like to meet you. I quite understand if you do not wish to revisit the past, so please do not feel obliged to meet me. However, I do feel an obligation to Irena, to tell her about her father and his life after the war. I'd be very grateful if you would send me her address. My father lived a very quiet life in the north of Scotland, running a small successful business as a tailor. I always knew there were experiences he didn't want to recount. Last year I visited my Aunt Aniela in Augustów. Adam, my uncle, died in 1996, and the oldest brother Kajik died in Glasgow in 1988. Aniela gave me an address for Bogdan Baldus, my father's cousin in Podhaice. I wrote to him earlier this year and visited him a few weeks ago. That journey has led me to write this letter. I do hope you'll want to reply, particularly in view of my relationship as a half-brother to Irena. I hope you're in good health. Best wishes to you and your husband. As soon as I left the Russia, I would never go back. Because if I go back, I would by the scruff of the neck and into jail. And I would go back to that. Never. That's how it is. From the day I started, I never look back. I have the sewing machine, that's all I needed for a start. I have the happy life in Inverness. Every year in November to Polish War Memorial in Invergordon for the service of remembrance. Droga Paniana, it's nearly 10 months since I wrote to you. If you received my first letter, you'll know that I would like to contact Irena. Please understand that I simply want to tell her about her father. I'm sure she must be curious. I know you must have had a difficult time during the war and that my father's behaviour towards you may not have been as good as it should have been. I hope you'll understand my need to know his buried history and that you'll decide that you want to help me. Please understand also that I do appreciate how sensitive this subject is. Please get in touch, because I know the system. I know the system! If I went back, you would be going to jail. Was 5 years or more for being away to the West to get rehabilitated, as they call it. Probably 5 years wouldn't be enough. would be 10 in those frozen wastes, and it might kill you! Oh, what am I? Am I a Ukrainian? A Russian? A Pole? I come from Nimavod and 100 other places. I come from a tailoring school in Podhaice. I come from the Eastern Front because when you are a tailor, they send you to be a soldier. I come from the Soviets and the Nazis. I come from a farm. From the forests and fields of green Ukraine. From the resettlement camps of Germany. From the beaches of the Adriatic. From the grimy streets of Glasgow. And the cool air of Inverness. Does it matter what I am? I am all of these things and none. Now I am here. I am from here. I speak the language of here. Those wolves, they never got me.
Dear Mr. Matthew, I'm your sister, Irena. I'm very happy to learn that I have a brother who wants to meet me. I never imagined that any member of my father's new family would like to contact me. The only things that remind me of my father are his photo and a dress, which he sent to me in Mieszkowice when I was a little girl. Besides, he has appeared in my dreams. However, in each dream he was trying to run away from me. I was born on the 2nd of February, 1941. I don't really remember my father, as he had been transferred to the Eastern Front soon after I was born. He was captured by the Germans. In 1944, he sent a letter to my mother Anna, posted from Germany, in which he was asking her to visit him there as he was unable to come back. My mother wanted to go, but she had me and her parents to take care of. Even Mateusz's father dissuaded her from her journey to Germany. After that, we had to leave Gniło Woda and move to Podhaice, as in summer of 1943, Ukrainian nationalists started to slaughter Polish people. We barely survived. Hiding from the Ukrainian bandits, my mother forced to labor for the Germans, digging trenches, then hiding from the Russians as they looted and raped. We were suffering from starvation. I temporarily lost my eyesight. In 1945, we were deported to Western Poland. The journey took 6 months. My mother carried my father's sewing machine with her for his return. In 1948, my father sent a letter saying that he had settled in Britain and asking for a divorce. He also sent a dress for me, which I remember to this day. From that time on, we lost contact with him. My mother never spoke badly of him. She always said he was a good man. She loved him very much. I'm very glad that you have made contact, because it helps me to believe that not everything connected with my father has to be painful. I hope that a prospective meeting and an honest conversation will help both sides. We are the children of war.
Newcastle to Berlin. I'm going to Poland again, but not to Gdańsk or Augustów, Krakow or Warsaw. I'll stay the night in Berlin. Tomorrow I'll drive 100 kilometers just across the border, to Mieszkowice. I'm due to arrive at Irena's house at lunchtime. A thick, invisible presence will accompany me. Accompanies me now. He will hover at my shoulder as I leave the plane. He may need to talk to me in the dead of night. He will fill the space I'm not occupying in a little hire car. He will harry me and urge me on as I leave Berlin. He will grow restless at the border at Frankfurt Oder, where we crossed on childhood holidays, turning south towards Uncle Adam's, never north to drive the 40 kilometers to Mieszkowice. He will grow fearful, grief-stricken and numb as we approach Mieszkowice, ask for directions and find Irena's house. He will follow me, perhaps at a distance as I approach it. He will be afraid when Irena appears. He will place himself between us as we meet each other's eyes, as we hold each other's hands. And as we embrace, he will engulf us.